Hey everybody, Mike Iaconelli out in the shop, and I want to talk to you about knots. Knots are real important, and there's 4 basic knots I use under every fishing condition you could imagine. So I want to show you these 4 knots that I use day in and day out for every technique you could imagine. The first one is a real simple basic knot, and it's called an improved clinch knot. And an improved clinch knot for me is the knot that I prefer when I'm using fluorocarbon. So, anytime you're using fluorocarbon, from shaky heads to jigs to crankbaits, and you're using straight fluoro, I like the improved clinch knot. And here it goes. It's such a simple basic knot. You go through the eye of your bait, and you're going to get the line, and you're going to parallel to each other, and you're going to wrap it around itself 6 to 8 times. 6 to 8 times. You're going to wrap it around itself. When you do that, you create a loop at the bottom, right in front of the eye. You're going to go through that loop, and then when you go through that loop, you've created another loop where your index finger's at. You're going to go back through that loop. You're going to wet it, cinch it down, and that's the improved clinch knot. The reason I like the improved clinch knot versus a polymer for fluorocarbon is that burn rate when you cinch it down is a little less on the improved clinch. Okay? So knot number 1, improved clinch. Knot number 2 is the good old Palomar knot. And a Palomar knot for me, I'm going to use when I'm fishing mono or when I'm fishing braid and I'm tying the lure directly to braid. So frog fishing, punching, top water on mono, I prefer a Palomar knot. And Palomar knot, super simple. Once again, we're going to double the line, and this time we're going to go through the bait with the doubled line. We're going to do 1 overhand knot. That's it. And you see that tag end loop hanging? We're going to grab that tag end and pull the bait through that tag end, wet it, cinch it down, and you've got a Palomar knot. Great knot, again, for mono. Great knot for when you're tying direct to braid. Okay, now we're going to get to knot number 3. And this one is more of a specialty knot. And I love this knot, knot number 3, when I'm using a straight shank flipping hook style hook. So when I'm flipping using a straight shank style hook, I prefer this 3rd knot, and it is the Snail Knot. And the great thing about the Snail Knot is that when you set the hook, the way that we're going to tie that knot is actually going to make that hook point pop up and help drive the hook home on the hook set. And so here's the Snail Knot. It's a real easy knot. So we're going to get our hook, and we're going to face the bend or the point of that hook toward the line. We're going to get our line, and we're going to go through the eye of the hook. Okay? We're just going to go through the eye of the hook. When we do that, the next step is we're going to lay that braid parallel to the shank of the hook. So I'm basically going to pull it through. I'm going to double it and lay it parallel to the shank of the hook, okay? Pull it through. I doubled it. I'm going to lay it parallel to the shank of the hook. And then I'm going to get and take that tag end, and I'm going to wrap it around the line and the shank of the hook. And I'm going to do that between that epoxy keeper and the eye. And I'm going to go about 5 to 8 times. And all I'm doing is wrapping it around itself and the shank of the hook. When I get done, there's my loop that's laying parallel to the hook. There's my tag end, and all I'm going to do is go back through that loop. I'm going to grab that tag end. I'm going to wet it. I'm going to cinch it down. I'm going to get my scissors. I'm going to trim off that tag end. And now we've got the Snail Knot. And the great thing again about that Snail Knot, it hides between the eye of the hook and your keeper barb. It's never going to come out. And when we jack them, when we set the hook, it forces the point of that hook upward. And that means more fish in the boat. The last knot that we're going to talk about is the knot that I tie when I'm going from a braided line to some kind of leader. And it could be mono to braid. It could be braid to flora. It could be flora to braid. When you're looking for a knot for line connections, this is the basic knot I use. And I like to call this one the Ike knot. I'm going to personally name this knot. And, you know, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get our leader material. So here's my mono or my fluorocarbon. And we're going to double that line against itself. Then we're going to get our braid that we're marrying to this fluorocarbon or mono. And we're going to enter that loop. And we're going to go upward on that doubled line, mono or flora. And we're going to do it depending on the line size. On heavier line, when that flora mono is 15 to 25, I'm going to do it 4 to 5 times. If it's 15 pound or less, 6, 8 pound tests, I'm going to do it about 7 or 8 times. And we're going to just wrap it around itself. I'm going to do it 7 or 8 times going up. And then I'm going to stop and I'm going to do it 7 or 8 times coming back up. When I finish that 7th or 8th loop, that same loop that we went through, I'm going to go back through it the other way. I'm going to wet it. I'm going to pull on both ends. And I'm going to cinch it and tie it down. I'm going to get my scissors, cut that tag end, but I'm going to leave just a little bit. And I always like to give it one last knot check before I'm good to go. But the Ike knot, sort of like a uni-to-uni, is perfect for marrying 2 types of line together. Listen, don't be confused. Use those 4 basic type of knots, the improved clinch, the Palomar, the Snail, and finally the Ike knot. Use those 4 and you've got everything you need when you're out there fishing on a day on the water. Mike Iaconelli talking about knots from the shop. See you later.